Hello everyone, Anita here and welcome to, well, another video I guess. We are preparing to do a long video this time. I thought I would be talking a little bit more, but unfortunately my neighbors decided that this is a prime time for some party music, I guess. Yeah, so I don't know how much is being picked up by my microphone. I hope not much or at all. If anything, I can always make a voiceover over this later on. I just wanted to show you guys, kind of like make an introduction to it instead of jumping into painting straight away, and show you what I'll be working on. I'll be working on this little mermaid here. Now you can barely see her, I think, because my sketching is very, very light. Here is a little bit better picture. It's basically a mermaid sitting inside a teacup and she's reading a book. Originally I planned to do 31 of those mermaids, but over time my plans changed slightly. I just got so excited making this new layered type of art that that's all I want to do right now. And I thought that instead of doing just rushing to push out every single day something, maybe I should give myself a day or two or three to work on this one illustration. Yeah, especially that that's not only this that I do. So when I was thinking about it, as you can see, initially it just started as a A6 illustration, and that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to do, just paint an A6 illustration. But as I've mentioned, I got really excited about this whole, you know, just layered artwork, and so I've decided to just change it slightly, and I will be cutting this mermaid out and then surrounding it. I'll be pasting her on a separate piece of paper, probably also around, although A5 might be a better idea, because I've noticed, like, when I did, let me just grab it, I have it over here. When I did this little guy over here, he was on an A6, he's packed it inside an envelope, so, but he is done on an A6, and I found out that even though it looks really nice, I kind of wish I had a little bit more space, because I just got carried away with the layering. I wanted to put everything inside there, and the bird kind of disappeared in the end, which is not bad. I mean, let's pretend this was intended. So that the mermaid doesn't disappear, I will definitely plan a little bit better. Take a bigger piece of paper for sure. And I was also looking around my stash, mostly through my old scrapbooking supplies, and I was looking at other stuff that I could use. Let's just push this aside because I was cleaning my palette. I pulled it out. Basically what I was looking at are things that I could potentially layer on top to create a little bit more depth. I really love to use vellum in these pieces, but the only vellum I have right now are these thicker ones, and I don't know how they're going to translate. I mean, they are pretty transparent, but I really don't know. So I might use these. I have a bunch of other stuff. I'm not gonna use everything, of course, because I have this corrugated cardstock. It's like, it has, as you can see, it's been, you know, die cut a lot. It was, I think, this is left over from a friend of mine, because I don't have a silhouette machine. I want one, but I don't have one right now. So I have that. I really like this paper. I don't have it much anymore. It used to be my favorite, but this is easily doable. You can do it yourself. You just print the pattern on a thin paper. It is like this very thin creamy paper. It's not like a real, like, normal printer paper. I really like this paper, but I have only these 2 bits left. That's how low this paper was, and I had several sheets of it. Now I wanted more something like this. This is a bit thinner vellum. I will have to get myself to an art store and buy a few sheets of vellum, because this is the only thing I have right now, and I don't want to use the rice paper from that I got sent for the review, because it's very thin, and that thing just, you know, cuts randomly, and it's just way too thin. I need something sturdier. So this one is nice. This one would be perfect if this was a bit thinner. It's one of those another thicker vellums. You know, as a last resort, definitely I'm gonna use it for something, but I would prefer it if it was thinner. So as you can see, here are all scraps, just basically pulling out things that might be handy. I also have this sheet of gold paper. It's like, it's really nice gold. Almost reminds me as if the whole sheet, as you can see, there's some, you know, fingerprints and stuff. But it almost reminds me of the, oh, someone is messaging me, no. That was not planned, sorry for that. Almost reminds me of a sheet covered with just the ink, the gold ink from Winsor & Newton that I have. It's a bit darker, but a very similar finish. So who knows, perhaps it was washed like that. So I have another piece, like a smaller piece of the similar gold, but it has a bit of a wooden pattern on it. Unfortunately, just a small one. Then I have some more. I have also cork. I really like the cork. It's just a cork, like a cork board, but it has glue, so it can be, you know, really easily adhered to the paper. And then some craft. I thought it might be nice with some leaves, for example, with white gel pen or something like that. I don't know. For now, I'm kind of. I wanted to show you what I found, but I'm definitely going to try and use these vellums, because the color palette I have chosen for this mermaid, and there is no particular reason behind it, just because I want to work with these colors, is I've pre-mixed this, it's like a convenience color. It's a mix of phthalo blue and Sennelier Yellow Light. No, wait, I'm lying. It's a mix of these two. I'm so sorry. Of the phthalo blue and phthalo green, just to create a little bit of teal color. I use teal, like I like to use teal a lot, but it's I've noticed that if I don't have it pre-mixed, I'm not gonna use it. I'm just really lazy like that. So I've pre-mixed those a couple of colors for myself. And I want to use this one. And then I was thinking about using the Daniel Smith Quin Gold, just because it's Quin Gold, it's just gorgeous. So I want to use these two colors, and then within that range, these two would fit really nicely. So that's what I was thinking about using as an extra. I mean, it's probably going to be like maybe 2 or 3 pieces max. It's not going to be a whole sheet. These are gonna last me for a while. And besides that, what I'm going to be using is, I want to try a new way of watercoloring. I'm going to be using my water brushes, which are not here for whatever reason. I'm not prepared yet for this is just a pre-recording, just purely for you guys, and not for my YouTube channel. So I will be using just I've been using this palette a lot lately with my water brushes. It's just a little bit easier to work with. I feel like it's more convenient. Oh, the music stopped. That's a good sign. And then I don't know yet, that's why she's still in just a pencil form, because I've actually had, I don't know if I still have it. Yes, I started drawing her in with the Micron in sepia and brown, and I really didn't like it. It was way too dark. So what I've decided to do, I'm gonna color her in first and then come in with this guy as needed. It's the same thing I did with the bird, and it worked really nicely. I'm definitely going away from even outlines. I had something I'm not enjoying anymore, which is sucky, because even outlines make things really a lot easier in a lot of ways. And then I have actually, I have a secret project in mind for this thing, so I'm gonna share it later with you guys. But I was thinking about, I'm just gonna say it. I was thinking about making pins, just because I want to make DIY pins. And I think I'm gonna use this mermaid as a practice picture, so I have to make her really pretty and attractive looking, so she's easy to work on. So yeah. Okay, so I think that's it for the just introduction. I'm going to prepare everything and then I'm going to start recording. Okay, we're gonna try this new way of painting when I'm just kind of explaining what I'm doing as I go. We'll see how that works. So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually pre-mix some flesh color. And I want her to be very basic. There's nothing really fancy about her. She's just your regular colored mermaid. Like that's what I call it, just the basic color. And how I usually mix it is I'm going to go in. I need something to... There we go. Okay, that's pretty good. So what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna go... She has a very wide forehead. I want to keep that kind of light. And I'm going to go in around her cheeks. And this is only the first layer. I never try to accomplish everything in one layer because it's impossible. And I have pre-mixed some pink on this palette already on the upper one. It was impossible to fit everything. So what I'm going to do is just pick from there instead of mixing new one. I'm still learning how to use palettes. It's probably one of the biggest problems I have is that I've never really used a palette. I want to because it's just useful. It's really useful to use just a regular palette instead of having 10,000 different plates, which is also useful but for, you know, bigger paintings, not for the small ones. Okay, and I'm going to go in and add some color to her arms. She has very thick arms. I've just noticed. But that's okay. And I'm going to go with the same pink and add just a little bit on her shoulders and on her elbows. And that's purely to add a little bit of difference in shade. There's no really big reason behind it. And I'm just going to add basic color to the other parts that are supposed to be her skin. And I like to draw my mermaids in a way it kind of blends in. They don't have the typical Disney, like you can see there's a line here, but that's kind of just for me to show where it's supposed to connect. But I draw my mermaids in a way that everything blends in together. There is no distinctive line that separates the tail from the body. I just think that's easier. Okay, I need to find my heat gun. Okay, I do like to just blast the skin, the layer, with a little bit of just a little bit of heat, because it kind of saves the progress. That's how I see it. If you like heat it up and dry it instantly, the watercolor is not gonna move anywhere, and you're gonna have beautiful shades and the pinks wherever you want them. That's kind of, at least for now, that's my cheat for wet on wet. I do try to lose a bit control, but still, yeah, it's still quite hard, and I like to have my pink where I want my pink and not, you know, moving around. So let's add some more pink. Now this is a bit too much pink. There. You do have to have pink cheeks. Pink cheeks make everything better. So I really liked where that color was, and that's what I meant by saving your progress. This is exactly what I meant. So now we're getting, instead of this weird kind of yellowish shade, at least that's what I see. I don't know how the camera is picking it up. Instead of that, we're getting a really nice kind of basic yellowish, brownish tone, skin tone, with a little bit of pink. And we're gonna drop again. And by working in thin layers, I have a little bit more control because it becomes all very, very smooth. I'm gonna blast it again. There we go. And I'm not going anywhere far with it because I've recently noticed that it kind of works much better for me if I just... a little bit of purple. If I just, instead of trying to get my shading perfect, if I just go in with just a little bit of colored pencil in the end and add shading that way, kind of works better for me. I need a little bit more of the purple. So adding purple is just my favorite way of... oh, that's a bit too pink. Adding purple is my favorite way of shading the skin, I guess. And as I've mentioned, I'm not trying to have perfect shades here, just providing like a base color, I guess. I'm gonna go in later with a little bit of colored pencil. It's just much easier. And I'm being stubborn now and I'm gonna mess it up, I'm telling you. Okay, now I've added a little bit too much of that pink. Where did that pink even come from? Let's take it out. Okay, so I have to remake a little bit of that color. Bit of yellow. Okay, and then a little bit and just a smidge of purple, and that kind of cools down the skin tone just enough. Because if I just, that's another thing, you know, if I just come in with the colored pencil straight away, it's going to create a little bit too much texture for my liking. I don't like that much texture. And so by providing a little bit of background for that colored pencil, it kind of blends it in nicer. Just kind of, let's feather it out. Okay. Now I'm still not exactly sure what I want to do with her hair. I'm gonna wait for this to dry first. Okay, so in between in between shots I've decided to add a little bit more brownish. Yeah, it turned out a bit more brown than I wanted, but that's okay. We can work with that. So what I'm going to do now actually is I'm going to add a little bit of shadows just under her hair here. Just a little bit. Let's see, and maybe here under her hand, just to bring out that face a little bit better. Now I don't really shade my head too much. I don't really like shading to begin with. I just kind of do it to, I mean, I kind of do it to bring out the shape. Isn't that like the definition of shading? But for me the purpose of it is just as little as possible, really. I don't go for realistic, as you guys know. So this is enough. Okay, and I think next thing we're gonna do I'm going to pick up some of that Convenience blue, and I think I'm gonna add it just a little bit. Now that's a good point. Do I want it at the edges? I think I want it up here. I mean, it might be a mistake, I'm not gonna lie. I'm doing it without any plan. But that's how I like it. And we're just gonna figure it out as we go. Okay, and I'm gonna add a little bit more color at the end. There we go. I'm trying to keep it very, very delicate. Nothing too crazy. And then as I come closer, I'm just gonna start patting it. Instead of just making it even, I'm just gonna start patting it in. I kind of don't even want the, I like it the way it is right now. I don't even want it blue, white, yellow anywhere. You know what? Let's just do that. Let's just do a whole tail, your standard teal. I mean, why not? We can always make the cup or her hair yellow. I just really want the yellow. I just really want to use the quinacridone gold. Just because. There is no real reason to it. It's just I really feel like painting with it lately. And let's see. So I have to be very careful not to overdo it. Just gonna, once again, I'm gonna go back in with some colored pencils later and add any kind of texture that's missing or any kind of color that's missing. Just, it doesn't really matter at this point. I'm just blocking in the first shapes, trying to make it just to see where the colors are taking me. And I'm going for a little bit more delicate colors, although I always say that, and always in the end I'm ending up adding a lot of different shades. Actually, you know what? I don't want this to be blotted, because what I did here with those little spots at on her tail, this is to kind of make it seem as if she has scales. So I don't need to, and I think, let's see, you know what, we have to, the color needs to be repeated, so I think I'm gonna put the same blue on her book. Or teal. Just to block it out. Block it out! Just to block it. Just to see how the shapes are corresponding to each other, and then I can always darken them or make them anything really. Let's see, I think well, I have to kind of decide where the shade is coming. I think I want to have it just generic one. Oh, I really love this teal. I've had a pre-mixed teal that looked almost exactly the same, but it had that really ugly, chalky filler, like a lot of filler. It wasn't attractive at all for me, to me. So it was a bit brighter, I'm gonna admit, because of course if you want to have a pastel teal of a certain shade, you won't be able to achieve it with watercolors, even if you dilute it. But this one is beautiful. So I think there, I like that. Okay, and then I'm gonna come in with another layer of that on the tail. I'm trying to really have the lines nice and crisp when I want them to. That was a mistake I did in the past a lot. I figured I'm just gonna be very I'm just gonna be free, and I'm gonna paint however I want to, but then, you know, the lines were all raggedy and bleh. And in certain spots you just want the lines to be really nice and crisp, because you can't really fix that. You can kind of see it in the turtle piece that I've done for the collective. I was a little bit too free and then I've decided that I actually wanted to keep it line free, and all of those edges that were supposed to be covered by the lines, all of a sudden, you know, were not very attractive anymore. Okay, and then I'm gonna go down and start working on the tail. The good part about this picture is it's so small, so you can really, you don't have to spend a lot of time painting it, but at the same time, if you want to have details, you know, that's gonna cost you time. That's going to cost you not time, but just focus and attention. Because you know, on a bigger painting, if you want to have details, they are going to be much bigger, but here they're not. But people are still going to be looking close, so they have to be perfect, at least in my, you know, my opinion. Okay, I think I'm gonna go in with another darker layer on the book. Just bringing in a little bit here and here. And then we're gonna try to blend it in at the very least. There we go. Okay, oh, and then here. There. Oh, I like that. It's, for some reason, painting makes me so happy lately. I know it sounds silly, like it never made me happy before, but it just feels different. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm going to... Now, see what I mean? There's something bad happening here. Okay, I'm going to dry it. Okay, so I had a little bit of a break just to kind of think about what I wanted to do with this painting, because I am not sure, in all honesty, where I'm going with this. So I'm just going to... I have to keep reminding myself not to overdo it, okay? This is not some kind of competition, and I don't have to make some kind of perfect painting. And I kind of try to let myself, I try to like trust myself a little bit more, because sometimes I'm questioning the things I want to do according to whether or not anybody else has done it, or whether or not it's just the right thing to do, instead of just painting and not being afraid to potentially make a mistake. So that's, yeah, that's a very, very hard thing for me to do. Just to allow myself to make mistakes. So right now, instead of overthinking it, once again, I'm just trying to keep going, Anita. You just keep going, and we will see where that takes you. I really want to add a bit more of that teal here to the tail, and just kind of a little bit of texture. It can be either a scale. Gonna mess that up. That's okay. So it might be just a scale or something similar. I don't want it to go over this thing, but it kind of wants to. So what I think I'm gonna do, yeah, that's the problem when you're painting on camera, is you can't really put your nose to paper. And that is a good thing and a bad thing. Because it allows you to really see the painting better if you're not, you know, with your nose in it. But at the same time, if you have to do some details, it can be really in the way. Okay, so I'm kind of trying to get that really nice, like I want this edge to feel very soft, because it is rounded, of course. I mean, once again, I can always come back with colored pencils and fix this a little bit. Colored pencils are very versatile. And I like that. I like what I'm seeing. So I think I'm just gonna leave it at that and start working on the bottom of the little cup that she sits in it. Now this particular cup is actually is modeled after an existing cup, a teacup that I have. However, that particular teacup is a very light shade of teal. Part of the inspiration, I think, for this picture as well. But in this case, I don't want to use too much teal on this teacup. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add like an underpainting layer just to even out some of those shades, like shadows. Because now the bottom of this little mermaid is much darker. I mean, the top is much darker. Sorry guys, it's hard to focus on both two things at the same time. It's pretty much like live streaming right now. Just trying something new. And so it's much harder for me to focus on painting and explaining that. It's kind of a skill I'm trying to build, so forgive me if it's not perfect. Okay, so what I'm trying to say once again, the top of this mermaid with this dark tail is very heavy. So this picture right now is very top heavy. Now this is not a big problem, once again, because I will be coming in later on with some plants just to surround it with a little bit of plantage. And if I decide that the top is too heavy, I can always come in with some darker plants and put them at the bottom. And this way, you know, I can even it out. This kind of layered style of painting is probably the best for my style, with like I'm not planning anything. So it's perfect. Okay, it's like a monochrome painting right now, but I really like it. Okay. And then I'm having a feeling that this paintbrush is getting old. It doesn't really, it used to paint much better than it is now. Like, I feel like the water flow is disturbed some way. Okay. I like that. Still feel that it should have another layer of teal. But that might be actually, I might bring that with some colored pencils. Okay, I'm gonna dry that and prepare the yellow. Okay, I had to refill my paintbrush as well. So, let's see, what shall we do? I think I'm going to start by painting her hair yellow. She's not blonde, she's yellow. Although I have no idea if I want to do that. Let's start with the mug, with the little cup. And I think I'm just going to... Should I do that? I'm experimenting right now. I'm experimenting with underpainting, I guess. It's gonna be nasty, then you guys will know that I can't paint. But at least I have confidence that I can save any painting. I've done it before. Okay, so I'm trying to work a little bit quick. I'm trying to work quicker because this particular paint, I wanted to blend in with the wet layers. Since if you don't know quinacridone gold, it has that brown undertone. And I like it. Makes me almost think of gold. I mean, if it doesn't blend in, it's not a big deal either. Hello. Because I can always come in and put another layer. Beauty of watercolor. I'm just trying not to brush too hard. That's one of the problem with watercolor brushes, I think. I mean, with these water brushes, is that they are pretty tough, like hard, as the bristles are rather hard. And while I really like the brush, you know, it can't be hard. It can be hard on the under layers, especially when the paint is easily lifted. So let's put in a little bit. Beautiful. It's exactly what I wanted. That's great. That little bit of teal that I put underneath, it kind of helps it blend nicely together, and adds a little bit of, you know, just, it's an underpainting. It adds a bit of shadow. Honestly, I've never tried it with this particular. I know, you know, I've tried it with blue, with phthalo blue. Though this is technically phthalo blue, so I was hoping that it would look decent, and luckily it did. So now I'm coming in with the same Quin Gold on the shadows, just to thicken them. I don't want it to be blue. I've added just a little bit too much on the... I didn't leave enough white in certain parts, but that's okay. We're gonna bring that back in. Okay. Now I think... Oh, I'm still not sure if I want to do her hair. I'm gonna add a bit more here. I'm seriously chickening out right now. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I'm just gonna paint it black or something that covers that yellow. Plus, I have a feeling it's gonna look great, so. Initially, I wanted to make her look a little bit more like Ponyo, just because I watched Ponyo. If you're not familiar, it's a Ghibli movie, Ponyo on a Cliff. I think. Ponyo, I just call it Ponyo. It's about this little girl, little fish that got turned into a girl. It's a little bit inspired by, of course, the mermaids. Because if Ponyo doesn't get loved, then she will turn into sea foam. As is the original story of Little Mermaids. But then I thought about it a little bit more and I just really wanted to paint with Quinn Gold. Because it really does look like gold. With those brown undertones, it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous paint. It's too bad it's discontinued. Okay. I'm just adding a little bit of more concentrated Quinn Gold on her hair because I actually don't want any blue in her hair. I want it to almost shine, to almost glow. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna go with the pure color and white. Okay, I'm gonna dry it. Okay, it's dry now. I'm still thinking. I am doubting myself, guys. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with another layer of yellow, of the Quinn Gold, next to the face. I don't want to use too much fine liner. I already feel like I want to, but I don't want to, because fine liner, you know, even if it's really delicate, like a small nib, it's still going to be, you know, this is a small painting. It might overpower it, like, no matter what I do. So I'm going to try to keep it to minimum. I even might add a little bit just definition with colored pencils. I mean, I'm not particularly in need of lines, so. I'm just trying to add just a little bit of, you know, curl in that hair. I have to start practicing hair painting maybe, because I feel like I'm lacking in that department. Like, I lack in a lot of departments, but this one, it just bothers me. Most of the time when I'm lacking in something, it just doesn't bother me particularly, or I don't need it at that point in time. Eventually I usually get to the point where I want to improve a certain aspect, but oh yeah, Anita, yeah, that's perfect. Let's make little details popping out of that mermaid and then try to cut it out. Oh well, I can always leave an outline. Okay, I feel the need to add another layer of brown, very concentrated Quinn Gold to the bottom. It's such a beautiful color. I think I'm just gonna leave it like that. I like it. I like when it's a little bit messy. I don't know what's happening to me, guys. Lately, I feel like I'm changing a lot. My style is changing a lot. And it's a good thing. Okay, it's a bit too much water. Okay, so this is mostly just for just to get the shading a little bit better before adding some more definition. Because in some places, of course, which makes total sense, the teal, you know, it became a little bit muddy, like here, for example. So I just need to put a little bit more of that color, just to add a little bit more brown to, like, because this is just, Quin Gold is not particularly yellow, it's more brownish when it's concentrated. So in those darker areas where I'm putting a little bit more of that pigment, because I want it, of course, it just, if there's not enough of it, it's gonna look a little bit muddy. And we want it to look a bit muddy, but in a good way. Tinted mud. There we go, that's much better. I like that. Okay. Okay, so her hair is mostly dry. I can come in with a little bit more darker here. Just trying to not overdo it. I mean, it's gonna look messy now anyway. But it's all part of progress. I like it though. The hair looks really nice. Okay. I think I'm gonna do a little bit of brown with that same. There we go, maybe. Very diluted mixture of some colors from my palette that resemble a brown, just to add them to the pages of the book, make them a little bit darker. Let's see, there is some awkward space here, and I feel like her skin needs another layer. It's a bit cold, it's almost like pasty. It's a pasty color. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add, oh, that's too much, that's too many colors mixed and it's not gonna be pretty. Okay, I'm gonna mix a new batch of flesh color, but based on Quin Gold. So I'm gonna create, you guys barely see it, a little bit of brown. This really, yeah, that's much better. And what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna put it everywhere, but I'm going to put it in, like, actually maybe I should put it everywhere. Maybe that is a thought. It's that purple. I kind of overdid it with the purple, but that's okay. I'm gonna do it like that. And then add just a little bit of pink again. But I think I want it to be this kind of warmer pink. Yeah, that looks much better. And what I mean by keeping an eye on the edges being nice and even, when you drop in color like this, it tends to have a little bit of a weird, like it does its own thing. I'm gonna quickly blast it. I definitely messed that skin a little bit up. I'm not a big fan of it. But that's okay, because it's mostly that weird brownish purple. I'm just gonna add some purple on top of it later, and it's just gonna even everything out. So that's quite okay. And I think we can go straight to colored pencils. So I thought I would talk a little bit here about my process of picking the colored pencils that I want to use, because I am not going to use the entire box. What instead I'm going to do is I'm going to pick several colors that I think might match this picture. So there is this particular one that I use for pink, and it's this warm pink called Fruit Punch. What I'm using here are the Arteza colored pencils, by the way. Still, I actually really like them. And from this one here, I already know that this turmeric, it's called turmeric. This colored pencil is the exact match for the yellow in Quin Gold. It's a beautiful yellow. I mean, turmeric, you know, the spice color. And then I think, was it yellow ochre? No, but I'm gonna keep it just in case as well. There was this brown. Oh, there's another layer. Yes, this one here, burnt ochre. And that was what I used on top of to darken those areas here, just to deepen that color and add it a bit more texture, because like I've mentioned before, definitely mentioned before, but what I like to do, if I need colored pencil in the one spot, I'm gonna try and use it in everywhere else as well, just to keep it consistent. I feel like it really blends nicer if you use the colored pencils everywhere, you know, even if they don't necessarily change the color or do anything. It's just this is the green. This is just another layer of color. Ooh, this one is really nice. It's a little bit too green. Ocean blue, yeah, that figures. That's one problem. I will have to go and look for more pencils. I'll be right back. Okay, so I went in. I have this extra box of colored pencils. These are my this box is actually only the colored pencils that I used to use. Oh, this is a really weird white balance here. I've used only those because they were just my, let's say, artist grade colored pencils. So I found from Prismacolor Premier, I found the Peacock Blue. That is a really like a blue color, kind of close to this teal but with a bluish tone. And then I found this one, which is an exact match. If you guys can see, this is the exact match for this blue. At least, you know, on my, like in my eye. And this is from Derwent Studio. It's a Kingfisher Blue. Kingfisher Blue. So I'll be using those two. And then I was also thinking about just using something. I need something for the skin, and I think I'm gonna use, yeah, I don't know, everything is so extremely blue. Kind of thinking if I incorporate, because if I incorporate now, that was my mistake earlier. I've incorporated the purple within the skin without incorporating it anywhere else. Now it will obviously not going to fit within the yellow. I just don't like yellow and purple together. However, I could use it on the blue if I used it wisely. But I need a cooler purple. And these are all very warm. They are all warm. Oh, maybe this one. What is that? Lavender, I think. Yeah, that's a cooler one. Yeah, that one might work, actually. It's just, I don't know. I'm gonna keep these on the side for now. I'm gonna just clean it up a little bit. Let's see, I'm going to take out another dark brown, this dark chocolate, just in case, for the hair and for the eyes. And then I think as a last resort, wait, no, this is charcoal. Oh, the noir. The noir, yeah. Okay. Okay, I forgot to mention that I'm also using a flash color for the exact same reason stated before. I just need something to just add a very small layer on top of the picture to make, you know, the texture exactly the same. That's all it is. I kind of feel like the cheeks that were so prominent just disappeared completely. So we are gonna bring them back so that she is so enthralled with her book. I don't know what she's reading about, but it's definitely interesting. So that's why it looks so kind of childish, and is because I really wanted her to look a little bit like Ponyo. Like a child, kind of, sort of. Okay, so now a big decision. What do? Do I come in with the blue? I feel like that might be a good idea, just to bring in some of the blue instead of trying to bring in the purple. So she's just a very, very green person. Yeah, I definitely like that better. Just bringing a little bit of extra color, and then I'm covering this whole book with that colored pencil. This book should have a title. I forgot to add that. And then I'm going to add this. And what I'm doing is I'm barely touching it. I'm just adding a very, very delicate layer of that color. Just to... no, I'm actually going to leave that one, and I'm going to add a little bit more brown here. And as you can see, it's a perfect match for the brown and Quin Gold. Like so. Just adding a bit of, and I think I'm going to add that brown just over here, just a little bit, to kind of make her seem like she's part of that cup. Maybe the color is bouncing off of her. Okay, so now I'm gonna use the peacock blue at the tip, and I'm really gonna press it hard. There we go. Because what I want to do is actually want to even out the edges. Like I mentioned before, the edges got messed up just a little bit here. And also what I think I want to do, I want to create a little bit of text, like a pattern, just to add a bit of detail. And I'm going to draw a bunch of lines. It's kind of, you know, reminiscent of her fin. And I'm not trying for them to be even or anything like that, but I want them to make a little bit more sense. A little bit more. Just a little bit sense. And then I'm going to bring in that outline over here, and the same with the texture. So just gently, very gently, I'm going to paint the entire surface, or rather cover the entire surface with that colored pencil, just so that the textures match. Because this is her other fin. I don't know why it's so light. Maybe just it is. I want to, honestly, in the beginning I thought of it more as a distance thing. It's just a fin that it's further away. I don't know if that's actually reading through, but it's good enough for me. I kind of like it aesthetically speaking, so I don't care for more than that. And then a few more lines just to make sure that people know that it is a fin and not just a weird shadow. I like that. I'm going to add a little bit of blue in her eyes. I don't know what I'm going to do for the details because I really need to bend down. But I think, yeah, I like that. So adding a little bit of definition to the tail. And I'm trying to add actually a few scales. So just little tiny moon shapes. There we go. I like that. And then the exact same thing on her bum, just a little bit less defined. So I'm pressing much less and just trying to blend it in as I go up. And I'm gonna use the same exact pencil and add a bit more shadow. And kind of a bit more line. I honestly, from the distance I have to be right now, I don't see the tiny little fingers. Oh no. Okay. I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to add her bum. I mean a line to her bum, and I think one more here. And then I'm going to, this is more about defining shapes right now. Now I'm just working on making sure that everything is visible and defined so that these are distinct shapes and not just a mass of random scribbles. Pretty much. So now I'm going to go under her chin and just blend downwards, add a little bit of that color. There we go. And then bring it up towards her hand just to separate those two shapes. I like that. And she definitely has a very unfortunate hair color. That's okay. It's okay, we have this. Okay, now I'm adding a little bit of that same blue, and I'm immediately regretting that because I was supposed to add a little bit more brown first. So what I'm doing now is I'm kind of following that gradient and just enhancing it. In this case, I'm not like trying to create any new shape or add a bit more color. I'm kind of, as I go, I'm covering some marks, like making some shapes more distinct. It's the same thing as with the tail. And then I'm covering the whole surface with that colored pencil to even out the texture. Like so. And I'm going to go with the upper part and add the turmeric. Was it turmeric? Or yellow ochre. I haven't decided yet because it depends of how it will look like. If I need it to be a little bit more harsh or a bit more soft. There's a colored pencil for every occasion. So I'm gonna go in, let's see the turmeric first. And then let's see the yellow ochre. Yeah, I definitely like the yellow ochre more. So I feel like under this book there should be a shadow, but I'm kind of not sure how to approach that. So guess maybe like this. I've never seen, because it's such a weird shadow. How will you find how would you say it? How will you find a proper reference picture for this situation? So yeah, these shapes are definitely blending too much together. I don't like that. What that tells me is that it will definitely need a little bit more definition in the form of either a different color. I don't want to add too much of the same color. Of the same blue color, just because I don't want to muddy it too much. So just a little bit. I mean, it does look nice. I am definitely liking where this is going. It looks a bit boring right now because there's no background, but we're gonna fix this. No worries. So here's the Arteza Ocean Blue. That was a really close match and looks really nice on top of the book actually. Okay. This bit here, we're gonna have black, same as the spine, and under here, under there, and that's to break down that shape that I just messed up a little bit. There, that looks much better. And then we're gonna go in. I want to have a nice sharp sharp looking cover, and for the pages we're gonna go in with that chocolate brown and just scribble a little bit, just like that. Very nice. Okay, now her hair. Is that turmeric? Yes. As I've mentioned before, I wanted her hair to almost shine, but for the shine to come out, you have to have a shadow as well. And what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with the brown in some spots. And I'm definitely going to bring out some yellow. Some white. Okay. So I'm really hoping that the camera will not pick it up, but I really have to bend down and check the details on the character. And especially the eyes, because they're so tiny. But even though they are so tiny, you know, facial features are usually what people look at first. So they have to be on point. I'm just concentrating really hard right now. I don't know if I want to go in with the micron. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try, and I immediately like it, so I'm just gonna continue and see where that takes me. I mean, I'm not really going for... It's just another way to shade, I think. It's not really that I'm doing an outline. I can't really see anything. It's not like I'm doing an outline, I'm just enhancing it once again. Yet another deeper color. And especially here. And I have to be very, very gentle next to the face. I mean, everywhere else, it doesn't really matter if I make a small mistake or if I make, like the line is not, like it's jagged or something like that. But next to the face, it's like I've mentioned, this is the thing that people usually look at first. So it really has to be looking good. And this is definitely my favorite way of adding a bit of a line after the painting process is done. I mean, it used to be different, but honestly, this is so much better. Because you see exactly, this hand is looking so derpy. Because you now see exactly where you need the lines, where it needs a little bit more definition, instead of making it too heavy. And it all depends on the personal style, really. There's no really a rule to it, I think, at least. I mean, I used to align my pictures a lot, but that was mostly because I couldn't accept that a colored pen, that the pencil would just smudge. I was much rougher back then with my painting process. And nowadays it doesn't matter because I'm not as rough and I'm not smudging it everywhere, and even if it smudges a bit, it doesn't bother me at all. These are especially the points that I wanted to darken the bottoms, because I think that the lines, especially on white, there is no background here. Usually when you have lighter spots close to the background, then the background in that spot will be darker so that everything is nicely exposed. Is that the proper word? I hope so. Basically, so that everything has its contrast to show properly. And in this case, we don't have a background because I am going to be making the background separately. Now, I could have actually left it without an outline and just created maybe some plants or something, some item that will go behind it. But there is no guarantee that I will be doing that. Plus, I usually, when I cut out stuff, I leave an outline because I am lazy. And I don't feel like cutting out every single little bit. So that's why I've decided to put a little bit of an outline. There we go. This is the weirdest cup ever. Yeah, initially in the initial sketch there was a little bit of a weirder edge, so I'm trying to bring that back. It's a little bit late now for that, but that's okay. And then I'm gonna darken this part here. Instead of that weird blue, it's gonna be now brown, as if that book was casting some shadow. And the same here, just darkening those. And then I have to figure out what to do with her hair. There, and the face is perfectly lined, which is great. I'm just gonna do her eyes now, just a little bit. Once again, that's a very, very important thing to do. Just a little. And what is with me in characters and one eyebrows? I have a fetish, I think. There. Oh, I love this. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm gonna do. Just make little curly bits here and there. Like so. Maybe another one here. And another one here. Some more here. Yeah, this is definitely tying everything together. And then this one bit here, and I think we are almost done with this part. I think I'm going to cover this part here. It's just, it looks so awkward. There's this white space between, like her chest is shining. There we go. And then a little bit in the book. I'm still thinking what she can be reading. I mean, I think I might just put some of those runes that I really like to draw on my books and, you know, make made up language. Let's see. Let's do something like that. And then maybe ta-da! Perfect. Now it would be really nice to have a little bit of white somewhere, so I'm gonna put a little bit in her hair. Now this is not the best thing to use because it's gonna pick up every single pigment, but it's a good start, and I can always use a white gouache afterwards. And the thing with white gouache is that I would have to use at least 1 or 2 layers anyway, so really doesn't matter. If this one picks up some pigment from underneath. Yep, there is enough white here. Some more here. A few here. There's really no rhyme or reason now. I'm just adding it wherever I feel like it. Maybe not the best way to do it, but it works. And then let's add a few maybe circles. And a few shiny bits. And she's done. Okay, look how tiny it is. The tape is removed, and now I'm not gonna clean anything because honestly I'm gonna be using all of that, but I thought I would show you guys how I'm cutting these out, just because it takes a little bit of practice, I feel, when you're cutting with so much detail. So I'm using 2 pairs of scissors. One of them is covered in glue, which is not perfect, but these are the first scissors, and then these are the detail scissors. So what I'm gonna do, you always want to turn around the paper, never the scissors. So I'm gonna start cutting, and I'm gonna try to get as close to the edge as possible, really, but I'm not going to really try to be detailed with these, because honestly it's so much easier when you're cutting with these scissors, even though these are like very tiny, because these are embroidery scissors. I call them Russian scissors, because the Simply Nailogical one time called them like that, I remember, and I thought it was so funny, so it's stuck. But these are embroidery scissors, like use them for sewing, and I'm still looking for ones that have a little bit more ergonomical, like those, how do you call them? Those little things that you hold on to, because when you're cutting a lot, it gets really, really heavy on your fingers, and it just hurts your fingers. So, but these are so easy. Now that I said that, it's always harder when you're cutting a thicker paper. I'm not going to show you the whole piece. I'm going to cut it off camera because I really have to get close to it so that I don't make a mess. But what you're trying to do is being as gentle as possible, and never turn around your scissors. You always turn around the paper. That's pretty much the tip I can give you. And then it's just a lot of patience. It gets easier, and it's definitely easier on pieces that are with less detail. I mean, I'm gonna be very careful with this one because, you know, this is the centerpiece, but when it comes to plants, I'm just kind of cutting all over the place. I probably shouldn't be waving these around, huh? So I'm gonna get to cutting, and I'll be right back. Okay, a quick update. As you see, I have cut it out, and I have to say that I've cut with these, and they are bad. I don't know if this is just this paper. To be fair, I've never actually cut a 300 gram, a proper 300 gram paper. This is a 300 gram Fabriano scrap that I had laying around. and it's a really thick paper, so I don't know, perhaps maybe that was the problem. So I ended up cutting it with an X-Acto knife. Also, these are very small details, but I am so surprised by this. I'm here making big statements and it turns out to be wrong. So I actually took my kind of crappy X-Acto knife that I had for 10 years. I need to get a new one. And I also used these scissors, and these scissors were much better than these. I honestly don't know what's happening right now, but generally, you know, if you're wondering why I haven't just used an X-Acto knife from the beginning, I prefer scissors to X-Acto knives. So that's the most important part is it's out of its shell right now, so I can start working on the little details. Okay, so I've prepared a little piece of paper. I've taken the bamboo paper that I've had, because this is just a base, so it doesn't matter. The most important part is the one so that it's sturdy and that the colors are just bright, so this one. Now for the details, however, I'm working on this thinner paper that I have just plenty of, and that paper is just really easy to cut out, so that's what I'm gonna be working on. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to paint some teal. I feel maybe teal is in order. I've never actually painted a jellyfish before, so I'm a little bit confused. And it's definitely looking more like a mushroom than anything else. But I thought that it would be really cool to just have some jellyfish. So this particular one is gonna be more in the background. And I'm gonna actually paint it in like a similar way to how I paint my plants. And then I'm gonna paint the same plants. And it's all nicely gonna fit, I hope. I really hope so. So I'm trying to concentrate a bit more right now because this is free-handed. I very rarely freehand anything just because it's obviously not the control. But I really I really like this idea of freehanding things, that they look more natural and somehow better. I feel they complement this style a lot. So I'm just gonna, I really want this one to be very, very delicate. And then there will be a second one. So this one will be in the background, and then it will be a smaller one. So like a really small one. Paint it over here. And this one is going to be a little bit more saturated. in a similar fashion, I'm gonna have them have little plants. And this time I'm trying to be a little bit more mindful of what I'm putting in there in the background, so that I don't overdo it again. I mean, I really like that overdone style, don't get me wrong, but it's so unnecessary. So I can easily paint less. Okay, now I want to paint a few maybe smaller plants. And I'm thinking these are going to go in the front. Maybe not all of them, but at least some of them. Maybe one more. You always want to have a few more just in case. You don't want to use all of them, but I mean, like I've said, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to paint too many, but also I don't want to be left in a position where I don't have enough. Because that's even worse, because then you have to come back to the paper and draw a completely, like take the paints out, start painting again, cut out this one little sad thing, and just take somehow, you know, twice as much time as if you would just have done it immediately, because you are saving time on unpacking and preparing. So I'm gonna paint a few of those, and I'm gonna come back later and kind of paint them differently, so that some of them have maybe outlines, some of them don't. I think I'm gonna paint a few lighter ones. Just so that there is something, some differentiation, differentiation. My cat is snoring in the background. She finally got her food and now she's happy. She's on a diet right now because we've been to the vet, and the vet told me that she is 2 kilo, almost 2 kilo too heavy, which is not good for her. So we put her on a diet. It's hard. But she's not suffering. She just basically wants food. She was begging me for food yesterday so hard, and then when I gave her food, she just kind of disregarded it and went away to do her own thing. It's like, I have made my, you know, I've got what I wanted. I don't need it anymore. Okay, so we have a few. I would think I paint one more. I like to have at least 3. So I'm gonna have it bend like this. And if you're wondering why I'm holding this in my hand constantly, is because having it in my peripheral vision kind of helps me not go overboard with the size. It just, I stick to a size. Okay, so I have those. What else? I need a, ooh, no, I'm making a mess. I need to have something like that. Okay, so these are drying nicely, and I think I can go back and add I don't know how to approach this, if I want to go into detail or not. I think I'm just gonna I mean, this one is going to be in the distance. So I think I'm just gonna add a little bit of detail, like you see it here. Nothing too crazy, because as I've said, I don't want it to be I don't want it to just stand out too much. I don't want it to be too detailed. This is just like a little, the focus is on her and the background is just an add-on. So one thing that I think I'm gonna do it with some colored pencils. There's those like little lines that come out of the jellyfish, but that's I'm gonna do it with some colored pencils. I think that's gonna be easier. To have that kind of float around. Okay, so that's gonna be drying, and now I want to add a little bit of pink in some way. So we have that baby pink color. It's like a mix of, I keep mixing orange and pink together, and it creates this really nice, I also have it in a pan. It creates this really nice shade of, of pink, of just warm pink. And I think I'm gonna bring it as I'm gonna bring it just as some plants. And that's because I feel like this painting needs just a little bit of pink. Maybe it's just because I'm in the mood for pink lately. It's also possible. And then I will paint another one. It's a bit. And we're gonna say that it's some kind of seaweed. And I'm thinking these will be in the background. Just want just a little bit of that detail. I'm gonna add a few of those little branches of tiny little berries even. I don't know how to call them. I call them little balls. It's just about shapes, you know, make different shapes. And let's add another one here. Okay, just a bit. Okay, and then I think I'm gonna make a third one. And this is basically a callback to that pink in her shoulders. And it's a way to incorporate a third color. Okay. And then we need something in that yellow. Okay, so let's see. And as you can see, I'm working for now with just basic shapes. Nothing fancy here. Because the shape will be the same, but then the detail inside the shape will be different, and that's what's gonna make it, hopefully, special. So I'm gonna paint another one. I'm just try to stay away from the jellyfish. So that I have enough space for those little tentacle bitsies. Okay, maybe another one next to it. I'm feeling a third one. I'm just gonna put it over here. It's always nice to have a variety. Okay, that's the third one. I think I'm gonna paint, I don't know if I want to paint another big one. I think this one is enough. Although I might actually do another one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a new sheet, because I don't want to cramp this one. And I'm gonna go with another one of those big ones. Another big one. Let me think. I'm trying to make the shape a little bit pointier, just to kind of make it seem like it's flowing a bit more. And I'm gonna go back over the middle, and I think I'm gonna do another one of those. Maybe a bit smaller, although it doesn't matter if they're smaller or not, because you can always cut it. But I think that they're gonna look really nice as a background for the jellyfish. That's why I want to paint just a few. To have some to choose from. Okay, and then I think I have the thicker ones. I think I'm gonna do another one, but this time, because some of them have a little bit of brown in them, now I'm gonna do a pure yellow one. I don't know if the camera is picking it up. But basically on the opposite sheet, some of the brown that I've used got into the yellow, and they mixed into this really nice kind of orange earth tone, which is nice because they, you know, as long as it belongs to the same family, it's all good. I'm gonna do one like this, a bit thinner, because some of them I want to use a fine liner on and give them a little bit of extra detail. So, but I still want them to be darker than the background ones. So I need to choose a kind of a nicer even tone. Okay, let's see. So I have that. I think I want another one that goes kind of in the opposite direction. That one has a really thick stem. I do not particularly like that, but that's okay. Okay, and then I think that might be it. I think I actually might do another jellyfish, just in yellow, just to see how that will kind of end up. This time I'm gonna leave the inside light, so kind of work in reverse, and I'm gonna make it really, really light. Nope. Oh, I'm hitting stuff around. It's quite late already. I'm kind of in a... This is the part that always makes me rush, because these are such simple shapes, and I just want to start arranging them. But I still have to cut them, and there's just so much to do with it. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. And then let's do this one like so. So they're gonna crisscross. Okay, just drop a few things here. Okay, there we go. I like that. Let's drop another. There we go, and then perhaps just a little bit into this one. Like that. Once again, I'm painting without a plan really at the moment, so this is abstract painting. Well, not really abstract because obviously it has a shape, but unplanned painting. Okay, so we have that. I'm kind of thinking. Let me think for a second. Okay, so I dried them up. I'm done with the paint, so I'm gonna put it away. And I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna start adding some colored pencil on top, just to, like I've said, make them exactly the same as the, you know, the base picture. So one thing for sure, I want these guys to have stems. That was the whole deal. So I'm gonna just keep adding a little bit of stemage and some colored pencil on top. Now this is more of a foreground deal. This here, I really like to add these, I call them berries, but they're not really berries, they're just something. And normally I would probably add a fine liner stem, but I don't know, in this case I feel like I don't want to, and I'm kind of considering not adding fine liner anywhere, just the colored pencil, just to see how this would look like. I think it might help to have a little bit of a softer look for the background pieces that are technically a background, right? Practically as well. So let's see. So this one here, I think I want the stem to get a little bit more colored pencil. And this is just doodling right now. I'm just kind of going over the shapes, adding a bit more detail in a kind of a doodly way. And that just gives it a little bit of definition and interest, and that's pretty much it. There's not really any high secret behind it. It's I'm still experimenting a lot with different shapes and trying some new stuff. Oh, this is so much fun because for me this is much easier. As you've noticed, I'm kind of going with it without planning. I don't really like to plan that much. In case of my art, I mean. Of course not in case of everything. But so this really gives me an opportunity to enjoy a bit more and to have a little bit more freedom, because you know, all these little pieces I can easily just move around and don't really bother, you know, having a like a sketch. I mean, of course I will have a sketch for the middle piece, although not always, because the birdie that I've done recently, that birdie, it doesn't have a sketch. It just kind of came out one day. When, you know, I have a little birdies in the backyard and I wanted to have a birdie piece, and that's how it happened. So I'm just going over the leaves, and as you can see, I'm not doing it any I really don't pay attention much. I'm just trying to be very loose. I'm not trying to go over the lines, and this is not, you know, this is something I do. It doesn't have to be something that you do. I just really like it. It gives it a bit more random effect, I guess. It gives that fluidity, the movement to the pieces. Okay, I like that a lot. So I'm gonna move, and I think what I'm gonna actually do, I'm gonna add a little bit of the yellow ochre to the tips, because I feel like that will really tie it a little bit better. So I'm just kind of going over the tips, not blending it in, just kind of adding a little bit of color. Yeah, I think that's gonna help it really blend in with the yellow bits. I wonder though if how is that yellow color? Where is that sheet of... Wait, I'm making a mess. That is a almost perfect match. I can definitely use this for something. Kind of gives it a... I don't hate it. What about the other one? The white one that I had only 2 bits of. Now that's the problem though, because this is a cool color, very cool vellum, and as you can see, this is warm paper. I really like warm white paper, so I think we're gonna use this one. But first I'm gonna finish this. And I think, so yes, I will be using a fine liner. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more colored pencil here. Just as I mentioned, that's just for the texture. I'm not adding anything else here. Just a bit of texture. And I'm gonna do the same thing over here. And I'm just gonna leave these as they are, because these are gonna be background. These are not meant for the foreground. I don't know if I like these or not. I haven't decided yet. I liked them a lot when they were pink. I do like them like this as well. It's, you know what, on their own, It's one of those things when you have to see how they blend in with everything else. Okay, so that's done. And now what do we have? I have these guys here. Oh yeah, I have this one. I actually like this one the way it is. I don't think this one needs anything except of those tentacles, which we're gonna add with this guy. And I think see this what I mean with the tentacles. Just have them twirl around. I have no idea how I'm going to cut it, because that's quite big. It's gonna disappear behind her completely. It's such a shame. Though if I put her like this, we will see. We're gonna arrange it, we'll see. But so I have this one. Was it the one? Ooh, was it this one? I already forgot. I think it was this one, the darker one. I mean, because they both fit, but I want the darker one just for a little bit of extra oomph. Especially in this one, because this one is supposed to be a foreground one. So this one is going to go in front of all other ones. So I actually can't make it too spread out. So this one is gonna be quite compact. I think, yeah, see, I almost went over this one. And then this guy, I'm gonna just do maybe like this. Yeah, I think that will be enough, and I'm gonna add just a little bit darkness here. And I like that a lot. I think I'm gonna go back to this yellow one with some brown. Oh yeah, that's much better. There we go. I like that. That's nice. Okay, and then for these guys, these are supposed to be more of a like mid-ground. So I'm gonna add a little bit of a colored pencil outline and see how I like that. Now, of course, it would have been much easier if I used a fine liner, but I don't have a fine liner in this particular color. I have some colored fine liners, but not this one, and I want to use something that's, of course, light fast, because I will be selling this artwork. So I don't want to sell something that's potentially going to fade out, like fade. Okay, and then perhaps a few of those. Now these are turning into leaves now, but that's okay. I don't think anybody cares what they are. Okay, so now there is a little bit of extra definition, and I'm going to repeat that on one more, and a one I'm going to leave the way it is. And that's because they have the same shape, I feel like they kind of connect with, even though they have a different leaf pattern. And because, let's put it this way, all of those shapes, all of those plants have similar shapes, but if so it doesn't matter if they have different colors, because they connect in something. So they will connect in color, or they will connect in the shape, or they will connect in pattern, and as long as that is repeated, they will all kind of work together. So there's other ways of connecting shapes and making them belong together. It's not only, you don't have to make them identical. So for example, by making these two plants have similar pattern on the leaves. I tied them together. They're the same plant, let's put it this way. But because this one has the same shape, it also belongs there. Now, this one and this one, they have the same shape with different colors, but they still belong together because of the shape. Similar here. These guys have different sizes, different shapes, but they have the same color, so they belong together. So everything kind of, you know, hopefully will belong together. These guys are way too much. I'm just gonna rub it off just a little bit. Yeah, I like this much better. Of course, they probably will look better if they are together with something, but I have to like it. Okay, so now I'm gonna use the fine liner, and I think I'm gonna use them on these small ones here. And I'm gonna do them in a similar way to this one. So what I'm gonna do is the lighter ones, I will outline them. And I'm doing it very roughly as well, although when you're working with a fine liner, you probably want to be a little bit more careful. Like so. And then I'm kind of working the stem so that they don't float. Okay, and then I'm gonna add a little pattern. Yeah, I like that a lot. I really like the brown fine liner much better lately than the black one. It's so much softer. And a similar way, I'm gonna paint these two with this pattern and then leave this one without anything. And these are more of a foregrounded thing. Perhaps not the best choice for the foreground, taken that they are actually yellow and the mug is yellow. As you can see, there will be over this, but I'm kind of thinking that this one is going to go in front of them. So that hopefully that will work out. Hopefully. Okay, so we have this. And also by, oh, that's a weird pattern. Also by using a fine liner like this in the background, like I've mentioned, I don't want to overdo it because it kind of takes away from the middle, but also I want to use it at least a little bit because it ties it to the middle, because I've used a fine liner inside the middle piece. So by using the fine liner somewhere else, I'm kind of tying it all together. And what I think I'm gonna do, I'm going to do a similar thing to this one here. And I'm also going to do two of them and leave two of them alone. And these are also for the foreground. Actually, I might just do one. That's possibly a better choice. Because we already have, I'm trying to, whenever I put like any kind of design, I'm trying to do it in triple. Just because three things aesthetically look better than four or two. An even amount technically, like it tends to look better for some reason. I don't know exactly what the deal is behind that, but that's how it works apparently. I would have to actually, it's kind of curious. I don't know how that works, so I should probably, excuse me, probably look that up. And then I think what I'm gonna do is add a little bit of pink on the bottom of these guys and kind of create a gradient. I'm making this up as I go, so don't expect much. There we go. So it becomes like this kind of pinkish, purplish, pinkish, orangish kind of thing. Okay, so now I think I'm going to cut, and I'm going to cut this and cut them out, and we'll see how it turns out. So it's the morning after my battery ran out and the space on my camera, so I figured I'm gonna take a break, and off camera I cut out the rest of the pieces, so they're mostly cut out. Well, these are. However, while I was kind of thinking about it and looking at stuff, I remembered that I still have to doodle on this sheet, which is the transparency, and then I also found this, which is like this pleather that I bought yesterday. That's why I kind of forgot about it. And I figured I want to try doodling on this too with the micron and see if this actually keeps the ink and doesn't smudge, because I think it will be really nice texture. So first of all, this is the easiest part. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm going to just draw like simple shapes, just simple kind of like not feather but like leaf shapes, like so. And I'm just gonna paint a couple of them so that I have something to choose from. Like so. And then inside I will go, actually I'm gonna kind of make it a little bit thicker, just so that it doesn't look so, you know, even. I don't like when they're even. Okay, and inside, because I have to leave it to dry for a little bit, this is vellum, so the ink stays on top. I'm also curious to see if it doesn't, if it smudges or not. And inside, let's just make a few lines. Like in the previous one, this one here, I've done it almost in like a feather way. But I didn't like it quite much, like as much as these like random ones. I've done the random ones for the Totoro piece, and I like that much better. So I'm just gonna go with the random ones. Look how much my hands are shaking. What is happening? There. I don't know why my hands are shaking so much. Is it the coffee? I just had coffee like not so long ago. I don't feel very jittery from the coffee though. Maybe just my hands are. In this case though, it kind of helps because I do like that bit of a jittery texture. Let's add one more here. Perhaps one more here. Okay, and then, so the way these connect is by the color and the lines. So the lines are brown, and they're going to be the same as the other lines in the same color, I mean, as well as on the character. There we go. Maybe another small one. I want to have a variety of these because these are transparent, so they don't obstruct everything else as much as the opaque ones. Maybe one that's a little bit bent like that. Let's have a few of those. I don't want to smudge it. Of course I started the wrong side. Okay. And then So, and this one here, and I'm really trying to be very rough with it. I'm not rushing, despite what it may seem like. It is quite late though. It's past 12 now. I should be already editing this video, but it's fine. 12 in the morning, by the way, not in the evening. Okay, so I'm gonna put these aside to dry, and then let's try to work on this one. I'm kind of curious actually. What shape should I go with? I'm kind of thinking I should just go with something like this. Although I'm curious if it's not too much. Or perhaps actually, now that I think about it, maybe I will just go with something like this. So far so good. Have it a little bit more defined. Now I only have the 0.05 fine liners, so yeah, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna go with a few of those like curly bits, and I'm just gonna leave them as they are. I'm not gonna actually add anything, just a few curly bits. Let's make a bit bigger one, but shorter one. You guys don't see a thing, but that's the thing about this fine liner. I suppose I can try to keep it a little bit away, but then my hand is in a weird angle. Okay, I'm trying to be very careful because I can feel that this is kind of catching on this texture. I don't want it to destroy my fine liner. Okay, there's another one. And we will see if I use them or not. If not, they can always stay for another one to work with another piece. Maybe one more. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so now I'm gonna let it dry and I'll cut it out, and then we're just gonna start assembling. For assembling, I'm actually gonna try this sticky tape here. I've received it as a gift with an order that I've placed recently. So I'm really curious because it's that orange tape. I've had it before, and that thing is really sticky, like it really sticks well. And I'm thinking for this thing, where it has this kind of texture behind, it will be good to have something that's heavy duty. So I'm actually really happy that I got this. Oh, it's even sticking like that. I think I'm gonna keep it in the little baggie. Is this a double bag? Huh, look at that. I think it's so nice when companies are adding little gifts like this. I mean, it's even stamped and everything. If you don't know Dutch, by the way, this says veel plezier met je bestelling, which means have fun with your order, something like that, like enjoy your order, which is really, really cute. I've actually placed an order for some shrink plastic just to play with it a little bit, so yeah, it's gonna be fun. Okay, so I will let it dry, cut it out, and I'll be back. Okay, so before I start assembling it, a few notes. I wanted to show you how I actually glue these pieces on the paper, because I've decided it's actually easier for me to place the character first and then kind of tuck things around to create that depth. So what I will do is actually glue her first, and as you can see here, I've only placed the strips kind of in the middle of the character, and that's on purpose so that she's attached, and but I still have, will you please, I'll have to do it later. So I still have enough space to kind of be able to tuck things behind her, and that's one of the reasons why the tail, for example, is not attached, because I know that one of these jellyfish is gonna go behind her. So I want to have enough space. I can always cut things if they're too long and they don't fit, but it's much easier if I can just kind of tuck things behind her, so that's why she is not glued completely flat. Yeah, I'll glue her, like glue the thing off camera, just because it's way too much work to do it on camera. It's unnecessary footage. Now, one thing I've decided is to scrap these. I've cut them out. They are actually, they're not smudging. I need to give them a bit more time to dry, but they're not smudging. However, I feel like they are just too heavy. That's too heavy of a material for them to be in this, and the wrong color. I don't like it. But for example, this one I like a lot, so this one stays. So I'm gonna scrap these. Nobody is ever gonna see them ever again. Well, till the next work. I have this little box that I will put these in and save them for later, because, you know, no waste. Okay, so I'm gonna start gluing and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have all the pieces. I've glued her down, and that tape is so potent. Now, one thing I have to mention about gluing the vellum pieces is that gluing vellum is really tricky, because whatever you put, like, she doesn't, just please, thank you. Whatever you put underneath is gonna show through, so you have to really place strategically. Where is the other one? This is the bigger. Where's the other one? Let me see. It has to be in my magical box. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So let's see. This is the fiddly part. I think what I want to do, I think I want to put this one behind her. Yeah, I like that. And then this one kind of in front of her. Yeah, I like that. And then the yellow, I really like the yellow one. It was. Should I add her like this, like here behind? That's kind of the really fiddly part. I don't know if I want it, actually. For now, let's start adding these guys. Let's see how that works. Whoop. She is made out of much thicker paper than anything else I have, but I like the way these look. So I think I'm just gonna add those in the back. I'm gonna cut this one. There we go. Yeah, I like that. I like that they kind of go in one direction. And then this guy is gonna go like this, I think. And then this guy is gonna go in front, but I am kind of not very happy with how, you know, the tentacles are really nice and all, but they don't, they're not transparent. I think if I ever make jellyfish again, I'm gonna make them on transparencies. I feel like that would really look nicer. Oh, I like that. Oh, this is really nice. Yeah, okay. So now I'm gonna glue that down and we can work further. I'm not gonna be gluing this on camera just because it just takes too much time. So just a heads up in advance, this part of the video is sped up just because I will be explaining it later today as well, but I put some music in the background and decided to just assemble it without talking because at this point, you know, this stage is still really new to me and there is no really any rhyme or reason to it. Now, except a couple of things I'm gonna tell you. Well, actually, there's only two things that I can think of that have to do, okay, three things. Three things that have to do with this whole assembling. First one is that I'm trying to get a balanced picture. So I'm looking at the distance from the edges, so the upper edge, lower edge, and right and left, so that I have a nice composition. Then I'm looking also at the balance of the pieces, so that there's not, for example, unbalanced amount of pieces on one side or something like that. Balance. Then I'm trying to create a nice shape so that there is like a half circle edge at the bottom that I'm trying to follow. And besides that, I'm just trying to, you know, make everything fit without being overly cluttered. The second thing is I'm trying to stay away from, like I said, over cluttering it, just trying to make sure that the three pieces that I want to stand out the most are going to stand out the most. So the first and foremost, I'm trying to stay away from covering too much of the mermaid. I will be, like, I'm trying, the pieces that I'm surrounding her with, I'm trying to make them stay away from the book too much, from the cup. I'm tucking them behind her, so that she still stands out. The two other pieces that I want to be visible are the jellyfish. I've already decided, like, I'm gonna still talk about it later as well, but I'm gonna tell you straight away, I've decided that the yellow one does not fit at all. So I'm just sticking with the two of them. So I'm trying to not to cover them too much either and make them stand out. So I'm placing colors that will make them, you know, more visible instead of blending together. So as you can see here, I'm putting a bit more yellow behind the teal so that the teal stands out. And then the third thing that I'm paying attention to is that rule of 3. So that I have, well, it's not always a rule. I sometimes stay, like, you know, put more pieces, or I think there's one instance where I have only 2. But I'm generally trying my hardest to have at least 3 pieces in a sort of kind of triangular position. So if you look closely here, the pink leaf shapes, okay? They are in a triangular position, like there is a triangle, they create a triangle. At the top, the yellow background, the yellow big leaves, even though they don't create really a triangle, there's 3 of them. They create a cluster. And the reason why I've decided to just keep them over there instead of bringing them to the foreground, like I would normally do, is because they are very light and they are purely a background, shape. But to bring in that background shape to the front, that's why I have those smaller leaves, those smaller yellow leaves that have a similar shape, a similar color. If you've noticed the vellum leaves, they're also in a triangle format. That's why I've placed them like this first, and then I'm just adding more because I wanted them to kind of have, kind of draw your eye into the picture. And those are the three rules. So basically, 1, keeping things in a triangular format and having them like at least 3 of the shapes. and then 2, not over cluttering the picture, and 3, balancing it. So remembering that you have a certain shape in mind so that it doesn't go all over the place like it did in case of the bird illustration that I've done before, which came out really nice. I'm not saying anything. It's just that in this particular case, I wanted to have an oval shape. Now, immediately, I'm going to tell you that as well, because I don't know if I say it actually later. I actually didn't, I feel like it could still go a bit lower. I feel like the big jellyfish at the top is much closer to the edge than the bottom. At least it feels like, just, visually. But that's pretty much the only thing that I would work on a little bit more. I wouldn't change it because I really like this illustration. It's just I'm thinking for the next time kind of what other things I could improve on. And that's the one thing that popped in my head. And besides that, I'm really, really happy with the rest. Now, I feel a little bit sorry that I didn't talk through it, but really, I've been talking through the entire video, and because I felt that I was talking about stuff that I was, a little bit more confident in that. In this case, I really don't feel confident at all. As you can see, I'm kind of moving stuff around, trying to fit the pieces in it. I had a problem. That's another problem I have in general. Like, I'm trying to use all of the pieces I have, despite the fact that I said before that, I don't have to. And yet I still keep trying. And that's, I have to remind myself that I don't have to, I don't have to overclutter it. I don't have to keep using all of the pieces. Because there was a point where I was trying very desperately to fit that third, that little pink bubbles, the little pink bubbles that I made, little pink berries on the stem. I was trying to fit them really desperately in other places, and as you can see here, I've added it behind her, and I didn't like it because it didn't belong there. Okay, at least to me, it didn't feel like it belonged. Now, one thing is that there isn't really any wrong here, in my opinion, and as you can see, I found a place for those bubbles in later on. But I still really tried to put the third one, and at this point I actually don't remember. This part of the recording I recorded 2 days later after painting it, so I don't actually remember if I've managed to put that third one somewhere. But I remember that desperation that I was really, really trying hard to put everything in, and that's totally unnecessary because at some point I just felt, oh, this was enough. I could stop, but I still have a few of those other pieces, and they're so cute. Why not put them in? So as you can see here, I have those tiny little ones that just, they weren't necessary there. However, I'm gonna admit that once I put this little teal stem at the bottom, it kind of really balanced the bottom. I really like that. As well as that little teal stem near the cup, it really stands out nicely. Just because it's a different color than the yellow. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this. I've actually talked through the entire clip. That's incredible. But now I'll just, turn this off and let myself from the past take over. Yeah, bye.
And it's done! I'm sorry I didn't record any voiceover with the assembly, but I just like to put some music on and just enjoy it like that. It's just kind of, you go into this trance and, So the one thing I've done literally a second ago, I've cut away the plant that was over here. Because I've realized that it completely covered jellyfish. I've also moved this leaf here just to they're not supposed to be a focal point of this picture, but they were covered. So I still wanted to make sure that they were visible. So I've got rid of this yellow one, and I'm thinking perhaps even put it I actually like it like that. That's why we are not gluing the whole plant. just part of it, or just the elements, I mean, just part of the elements, so that I can kind of move them around. Yeah, so I've kind of assembled it to have a circle, because I want to try really and print it as a, you know, something else. So I needed it to have a nice round shape for experimental purposes. Unfortunately, I did not use this jellyfish, but no worries, because I am planning to make more of them, so I might perhaps use this one. It's just gonna go onto the unused pile. And besides that, I'm pretty much used all the pieces. Now, one thing that surprised me a lot is that, I don't know if it's this tape or it's just that because the vellum is so thick, I'll have to give it a little bit more you know, experimental time. But actually, this adhesive, not only it's super sticky, I knew that already. I knew that it was this very, you know, heavy duty adhesive, but it doesn't show under the vellum. That's why the vellum pieces are at the bottom. They're actually showing. Normally I would tuck them behind other pieces because I wouldn't want the adhesive to be seen, but you can't see the adhesive at all. And I have a very good eye, okay? I'm really, really, like, you know, I'm really looking at the little details and paying attention if something is showing that I don't like. Now, I'm kind of thinking that as a last bit, I'm going to add a little bit of little details with the gel pen, just to kind of tie it all together with her little dots and bits and stuff. Not too much though. I've recently stopped adding that much, just because I don't feel like it's necessary anymore. It used to be a big thing of mine. I've added it everywhere, but with this much white showing through, I don't feel that the little bit sparkle is necessary anymore. Like, see, I'm kind of done already. I am really happy with this picture. I honestly am. It's constant, you know, experimentation for me at this stage. I'm trying different ways of cutting, of assembling it, different shapes. As you can see here, I've went all the way down on this card, but here I wanted to kind of contain it within. I still feel like it's not balanced. I feel like it should be a little bit lower on the card. But yeah, all in all, it doesn't look bad at all. I feel like, you know, it's still very busy. But as I've mentioned here, as you can see on this one, I wanted to include so many elements that the bird is kind of, you know, disappeared, even though like his tail is not visible at all. That was not intended. I wanted the bird to show more, and that's why here, you know, you can still see. I try to keep stuff away, you know, they still have to overlap, because I feel that kind of ties everything together so that it looks like one illustration instead of just random pieces, you know, put together. That's just my preference, but I try to, you know, keep everything visible. So I feel like I really took a step forward to that. So now I'm going to take my little fine liner and I'm going to sign it. Let's see, what would be a good place to sign? I feel like maybe here. I think that might be a good place to sign. It's always a problem for me, but I really like to use the fine liner for that, just because I can make it really, really tiny. 2018. Yep, and then in the back, I usually write the date that this piece has been, let's see, it's the 3rd of May. Okay, so it's 03, 05, 2018. I started doing that because I have a bunch of artwork that I don't have dates on, and then I wonder after a while. I used to think it didn't matter, but I kind of like it right now, just to add a little bit of, you know, information to see on a timeline how my art progresses. Okay, so that's it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this really long video. This is my first time recording my voice while painting, so I hope, you know, it was clear and it wasn't too annoying. If you have any notes or things that you would like me to improve on,
or perhaps some things that are, you know, sometimes things are so obvious to me that I don't think about talking about them. So also, if you would like to know some other stuff that I do while painting, or to explain it a bit better while I'm painting, please tell me. It just helps me to improve, and we will have something that we both like, I think. So yeah, thank you so very much for watching and supporting me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!